Welcome back everyone, my name is Lee from Lever's Kitchen. Today we're going to make jam bowl donuts and also going to try and cook them in the air fryer as well. So today I thought I'd be naughty and make some donuts. So we have a really good donut shop in town, but they've actually gotten really expensive now. So I'm going to make some jam donuts today at home for the fraction of the price. And what makes these donuts really good is a secret ingredient, and you'll never think about it. So here's the ingredients that we're going to need today. So today we're going to need 250 grams of Desiree potato, and that's our secret ingredient. It's going to make them so nice and fluffy. We're going to need 25 grams of butter. We're going to need 50 grams of sugar, 15 grams of dry active yeast. Then we've got an egg here as well, half a cup of warm milk, and 300 grams of AA flour. So I choose this Wallaby baker's flour, and that's 11% protein, and I find it's an overall really good flour to use. So the first thing we're going to do is peel 250 grams worth of our Desiree potatoes. Then we get them on the boil, and we're going to turn them into mashed potatoes. So look at the scales here. 2 smallish Desiree potatoes will equal your 250 grams of potato. Then I'm just going to slice these into cubes. Now we're going to grab our pot. Give them into the pot. And we're just going to cover these. Now we're going to put them to the stove, and we're going to bring it to a boil, and we're going to boil them until they're nice and tender, just like we're going to make mashed potatoes. So while the potatoes are cooking, now we're going to heat up the milk and the butter. So I've just chopped up this butter a little bit. I'm just going to put this in the microwave, and we're just going to warm this up a little bit. Once the butter has melted, we want to just let it cool down a little bit, just so we don't kill the yeast. After it's cooled down a little bit, we're going to add our egg. We're also going to add a little bit of vanilla, about a teaspoon's worth. Then I'm just going to give this a quick beat. Then I'm going to add my 15 grams of yeast. Now I'm just going to give this a good stir. Make sure all that yeast has all been stirred in. And now we're just going to leave this for the next step. In a flour, we're going to add our 50 grams of sugar, and we're also going to add just a pinch of salt. Always add a good pinch of salt in all your cooking. And then we're just going to give this a good stir. So now the potatoes are nice and tender now. Now we're going to drain them. A little tip, place your colander back over your pot and just leave that for about 10 minutes. Let that all steam. That'll help evaporate all that excess moisture. So now they've steamed for a little bit, we're going to add them back to the pot. And then we're going to mash the potatoes. Now, if you had a potato ricer, fantastic, go for it. I have one, but for this little amount, I don't see the point of actually getting it out. So I'm just going to mash it up as much as I can. Then we're going to add our mashed potatoes to the flour. Now we're just going to stir these potatoes into the flour. Just drop the temperature in that just a little bit. Coat it in the flour as well will just help it just evenly just distribute into the flour. And now we're going to add our yeast, milk and egg mixture, You see it's already foamed up heaps. Let's get that into there. And now we're going to stir this into a firm dough. So now I'm just going to get a little bit of flour onto my board. And I'm going to give this a quick knead. I'm just going to make sure everything's incorporated. Now there's quite a bit of yeast in this, so don't be scared to add a little bit more flour, because it will still puff up if you go into a little bit extra, make it all easier. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cover it up. Just going to use the same bowl, leave it there for a good 10 minutes, and then we're going to shape it into balls and get it proving. While we're waiting, I'm just going to cover a tray up with some grease-proof paper, and you'll see later how this makes it so much easier when we go to put them into the fryer. I've also set up my deep fryer, so I like to set mine up under the range hood, so that way while we're using the deep fryer I can turn on the range hood and have all those smells just go straight outside. I use rice bran oil. When you see the fryer, it looks a lot darker, and that's just because rice bran oil is just a lot darker, so don't be alerted or anything like that. It's actually my first time using the deep fryer in probably a month now. So been pretty good. So at this time we can get our deep fryer heating up to about 160 degrees Celsius, and that's about 320 degrees Fahrenheit. So now the dough has rested for a good 10 minutes. Now we can start doughing it up into balls. And you can make these as big as you want or as little as you want. This recipe should make about 24 mini donuts. I like my donuts to be a reasonable size, so I'm going to go with 8 today. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them into balls. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually just flatten them just a little bit, because we don't want them as like round balls. We want them quite a bit flattish. And then we're going to put these onto our baking tray. Alright, so now we're going to cover these with a tea towel, and we're going to let them rise for about half an hour, and then we're going to fry them up. So I've got to do a bit of an experiment today. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to fry one of these off in the air fryer. Now, some things you do not put in the air fryer. For example, chips. I cannot stand chips, or anything that you don't like putting in the oven, you're probably not going to like putting in the air fryer. So usually donuts, so you really don't do that, but I'm going to give it a go, and we're going to see how it turns out, because I know someone is going to ask me, can I do it in the air fryer? So now these have been proven for about half an hour, now they're ready to fry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a pair of scissors and actually cut the grease-proof paper. And rather than trying to actually release it from the actual grease-proof paper, we're going to drop the whole piece of paper into the oil and make life just a little bit easier. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get our sugar coating ready for when they come out of the actual fryer. So what I've got here is just some caster sugar, and that's all ready for when they come out the fryer. So now my deep fryer is heated up to 160 degrees or 320 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we're going to drop the donut balls into the oil. Now, what we do is we're going to lower the whole lot, paper and everything into the oil, like so. And then we're going to wait for the donuts to release from the paper, and then we'll remove the paper with some tongs. Yeah, that just comes straight off. You don't have to worry about your paper getting stuck to your donuts or anything like that. And now we're going to do a very gentle fry. So this is going to fry very slowly for a few minutes on each side. We don't want to fry them too fast, or else what will happen is they'll split and they won't look appealing. So now the donuts have been fried for a few minutes, now we can turn them over. Now we're just going to fry them until they're golden brown on the other side. Alright, so now there's been frying for a few minutes now on each side. Now we're going to drain them. And then we're going to put them straight into our caster sugar. And just make sure they are completely coated. And they already look really good. I'm going to get the rest done and then I'll show you what to do next. So I thought I'd do a bit of an experiment since everyone likes using their air fryers these days. So I've got one of these donuts here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to brush some neutral oil onto these. Anything you cook in your air fryer needs oil to brown, so don't be scared of using it a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into the air fryer. I'm going to cook it for about 15 minutes at 170, and I'm going to turn it over halfway through it and I'm going to see how that turns out. Alright, let's see how that turns out. So it's been cooking for about 6 minutes now and browned nicely on top there. I just want to take this paper off now. And just coat this other side in a little bit of oil. And then when you get this back in the air fryer for about another 6 minutes. This is the donut from the air fryer. Now to make the sugar stick to it, I'm just going to add some, just brush a little bit of oil on it. Now you could have these plain, but I'm going to put some jam into these. So most jams you get in natural donuts is not actually jam, it's actually an applesauce flavor, and that's because it stays more consistent when it's warmed up and everything. So I'm just going to be using some raspberry jam today. And if you've got a piping bag, use a piping bag. I've got a Ziploc bag here. I'm just going to cut the corner off that. Then what we're going to do is just grab a knife. Cut a nice big hole in them. They're so soft. And then we're just going to pipe that jam into there. So don't these look bloody good? So firstly, I'm going to try the one we did in the air fryer. And donuts are usually one of those things you don't bake, so I'm going to see how it is. I'm going to be honest about it. So that's this one here. Let's give it a go. So this is the one that was done in the air fryer. It doesn't actually look too bad. See how fluffy that is? I'm going to be honest, they're actually not bad for being in the air fryer. Now let's try the deep fried goodness. How fluffy is that? That looks so good. I'm going to be honest, the deep fried ones are so much better, but the one in the air fryer actually wasn't too bad. I hope you give this video a go. It's a great recipe. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a good old like. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.